Welcome to another episode of Let's Think About It with Dr. E. I am so excited to be with you once again on this same platform. But if you have not, I want you to go right now and subscribe to my YouTube channel because you're only going to catch Let's Think About It with Dr. E on YouTube. I want to thank all of my subscribers and all of you that have tuned in with me every week. This has been an amazing journey, but 25 is going to be a better journey. So I know I need for you to buckle up because today we're going to talk about something I think is very important. We're going to talk about folk culture, shaping our community, churches, and economics. But I want to give you a definition of what culture is. Culture is a complex concept that encompasses the beliefs, behaviors, and social norms of a group of people. Let me say it again. It's a complex concept that encompasses the beliefs, behaviors, and social norms of a group of people. So as we begin to talk about the culture, we said in one of our previous episodes, we talked about the video of the young lady that circulated who had to get before the church and talk about her pregnancy, that she was pregnant. And there was such an outpour and an outcry from social media, bad-mashing the pastor and the church. And let me be honest and transparent, I don't agree with what the pastor did. But the culture of that church and that denomination plays a big part in why the young lady did what she did. Now, they said, her mother said, and all of them said that she willingly got up there. We can only go on what they said. Culture dictates a lot of what we do and what we say. And as I said previously, social media can be a drug. One thing can get posted, and then it goes viral overnight. Her video has made it to TikTok, it's made it to every social media platform, and there's millions of views from this one clip of this young lady. And then we go on to see in the video, the pastor says, and you better not give her a baby shower. So I'm thinking about that statement. I'm thinking about the clip. I'm thinking about, okay, no baby shower, fine. But I'm thinking about, that's neglect. That's a form of abuse. So now you perpetuating, she has to get before the church and say she's pregnant. Now you're saying no baby shower. How are we going to provide for her and the baby that's coming? Is the church going to do that? Or are you going to keep her in her sin, quote unquote, because she's pregnant? Let's be honest. The child is not the sin. It's the act of what she committed. And in some cultures, that's not even a sin. That's another conversation for another day. But at the end of the day, we have to look at the fact there's a person who stood before church in shame. The shame of what she did. There is a culture behind shame. There's a whole culture that really thrives off of shame. They thrive off of other people's indiscretions, other people's mistakes, other people's ideas that are shameful, hurtful, and harmful to other people. So the more you share that video, the more shame and hurt is coming to that young lady. So we need to stop sharing it. And what we really need to do is reevaluate the fact. Let's be clear, the church didn't hurt her. The people in the church did. So the more we share it, the more shame and harm that we're causing. So as we look at culture, how has culture shaped our community? And let's be honest, community and culture are everywhere. Our history as Black people, from the horrors of slavery to the triumphs of civil rights, has shaped an unshakable communal bond. We've had to rely on each other when the systems around us have failed. You see, it's the way we treat our neighbors like family and saying it like it takes a village. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That particular scripture can take on many forms and facets, because if you don't love yourself, you're not going to love your neighbor, but you're going to love your neighbor the way you treat yourself. So are you abusive to yourself? You're going to abuse your neighbor. But if you love you, you're going to love your neighbor despite their race, despite their gender, despite their ethnicity, despite their culture. It is not predicate, it just says love your neighbor. So we can't infer on that scripture that I can only love my neighbor if they look like me. I can only love my neighbor if they work and live in my same community or they do what I do. No, loving your neighbor is basically predicated on love. Love is what love does. So you have to love despite what it looks like. Love covers a multitude of sin. So we go back to that video. If we loved that young lady, love would have covered that. And there would have been no need for her to get before the church because it covered her sin. And so we've got to look at the text and the scriptures here, really define them and really look at the fact. And then if I really want to be very biblical and theological with you, Jesus' mother, he was born to a teenage unwed mother. Let's be honest. If we look at the text and we look at the scripture and we really break this down, he was born to a teenage mother. She was unwed and she wasn't married. Joseph and Mary never conceived Jesus. The Bible says that he told Mary, he said that I will overtake you, overshadow you, and you will become pregnant with the Son of God. And she said, how can this be when I never knew a man? And Jesus said, don't worry, because I'm going to make this happen. There's going to be a conception that's going to take place between you and the Holy Spirit. And you're going to give birth to the Savior of this world. So now we look at that text and we look at community. There are a lot of teenage mothers, single parents, fathers and mothers in your community. Are you loving them or are you ostracizing them because they are single with no spouse in the house or father or mother in their life? Do you not realize that the community can raise that child and be the village it needs? There's been some successful men and women who've made it to the top. Our Vice President Kamala Harris was raised by a single mother, and she successfully made her way up to all the way to the vice presidents of these United States of America, and has yet to become even greater. So when we talk about community, it thinks about our cultural touchstones or our cultural milestones. One of the things in history that I really love is the Harlem Renaissance era. I love that era. In that era, we saw arts take alive, poetry, fashion. There was a movement within the Harlem Renaissance area that I think you need to go back and look at in the 30s, the 20s and the late 20s, early 30s, that our black culture, women and men dressed when they went out. They didn't come out in overalls and a hat. I mean, they dressed just to go to the store. They dressed to go to the market. I need for you to study that era because it was very interesting. It was very intriguing. I just read something the other day. Author Zora Neale Houston, after she had wrote a couple of books, after the Eyes of Watching God and some other things that she produced, people would not pick up her publications. She wrote several books, and after a while, she kept getting turned down by publishing companies. So then she went into hiding. She went into recluse. So after a while, we didn't see Zora Neale Houston. She died broke. She died with no one knowing her. And then there was Alice Walker, who revitalized her work. And some years later, she was able to get those unfinished books published. And her name began to resonate. But it was after she had died. And so don't let the culture and the community that we live in kill you or your name die. The works that God has given you, they need to breathe life and they need to come alive. I believe that so many of what we're carrying and so much what we're going to do in our community, it needs life given to it. It needs breath. It needs a new face. It needs a new voice. Our communities can thrive if they have been given the right environment and the right people. So I'm challenging you in this segment. Don't look at your community as this community that may be in a community that's run down. It may be in a community that just needs some love. You be the one to begin to spearhead to revitalize your community. Because in this year in 2025, there may not be any funds that this committee really be given to revitalize your community. But if you all come together as a community, you can change a generation in your community if you love on your community and give your community the needed things that it needs. The Harlem Renaissance, let me get back to that, I had to digress for a minute, is a moment when Black artists and writers and musicians redefined what it meant to be Black in America. I mean, it was an amazing era. And the Black Lives Matter movement, which reunited us across the states and countries and continents, it didn't just start with the Black Lives Movement. We had Black Lives Movement during the Black Renaissance era. These cultural phenomena strengthen our collective identity. Black people, I don't want you to lose your identity because this new administration has decided they may want to take away from the culture. We were born in adversity. We developed who we are from a slavery mentality, and then we moved to the Harlem Renaissance. We built Black Wall Street. We built a whole culture on our own. And you know what? They got afraid because we became powerful. We were able to build our own banks. We're able to build our own pharmacies, our own hospitals, have our own everything. And when they saw how powerful we were becoming, they decided the only way to kill it was to burn it down. And so many of us, instead of us rebuilding the communities, we faded away and moved away from those communities, and those communities never came back to life. This year, I want to challenge us. Don't allow someone to kill your dream because it doesn't look like it's going to come to pass. Don't stop dreaming. Dream big. Don't stop believing that it will not come to pass, because it will. If God gave you an idea, it will come to pass. Black culture is global. It's global, from hip hop to gospel, from literature to fashion to eyewear to whatever it is. We've been able to blaze the trail with our innovative ideas and our creativity. We are nothing short than simply amazing as a culture. The Black church plays a deep role in that. For us, the church has been more than a spiritual institution. It's been the backbone of our progress. Historically, the Black church was our refuge. It's where we could organize without fear, where leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. could rise, and where civil rights movement gained its momentum. The Black church, I need for you to hear me. We've got to redefine. If I must be transparent, we need to go back to the model that Dr. Martin Luther King and those built during the civil rights movement, because the Black church was it. It was where everything funneled in, and we taught. We were more educated without a degree. We were simply much more creative. Without internet, we didn't have that. But they came together. It's amazing because my aunt, my mom's oldest sister, she sewed quilts. She made quilts. She was a master seamstress. She was a storyteller in her own right. She was just a creative individual. My love for books came from her. My love for reading from her. She gifted me every year with books. So you know what I've done? Over the last 25 years, I gift people with books, especially children. I love giving books. So my nieces and nephews, I don't care how old they are, they get books every year from Auntie Erica, because I want them to be knowledgeable. And I pick books that I know that's going to spark them to want to buy another book, either from a series or from their author. So I picked that up from her. So her creativity from sewing quilts was amazing. It was simply amazing to watch her lay out the pattern. And she used newspaper. She made her pattern out of newspaper. She didn't take a pattern. She would lay newspaper out on the floor, and she would cut out her patterns that she did. So she had one that she did for her son, for my cousin. He had a big horse in the middle. And on the outskirts of it, she took different things, and she put things that resembled horses. She did stables. She did different things around it. And the simplicity of it and the creativity of it is that she did it by hand. Now, she loved the sewing machine. But she said, Erica, you see this fine stitch around here? You can't get that with a sewing machine. She put her own spin around each thread of the needle, and each piece that she put together, it meant something. So over the years that she began, as she did quilts and she gifted them to individuals, to her family, to her children, those quilts meant something to her because she realized that that was something that could live on beyond her. It was something that when you looked at that quilt, that you realized that this was something that could far reach that. So then my grandmothers on both sides, they began to gift us with quilts. They began to gift us with blankets. And you're saying, Erica, that's simply amazing to see that. But every blanket and every quilt that we've been given has a story. I'm saying to us, the church, we have a story that's yet been told. We are sitting with people in your congregation who are gifted, created, and I want you leaders and pastors to tap into that creativity in this season. Stop using the same people. And I need for you to begin to look at the spiritual gifts that are in your congregation and begin to use them in areas where there's a lack. I know some of you go outside of your church to get those gifts. There are some of those same gifts sitting right in your congregation. You just have to ask. Simple as that. There's a culture that comes with building. If you're going to build anything, you first must have a vision of what you want it to look like. In another life, I like to draw. I wanted to go to school to be an architecture engineer. So there were so many houses that I've already drew out. I drew out my dream home. I've yet to build it, but one day I'm going to build it. And so I took up drafting in high school. So I did drafting my whole time in high school. I went into college thinking I wanted to be an architectural engineer. So I went off my freshman year to UNC Charlotte. I'm telling y'all this story for a minute. I mean, on purpose. And you had to interview to get into the School of Architecture Engineering there at UNC Charlotte. And so I went for my interview and I presented a story about a young lady at that time, an individual who helped design the LAX, the Los Angeles airport. She was one of the main architects that designed it and built it. So I gave them and presented things, and they looked at me, the table full of white men, looked at me and said, that never happened. I said, it did. She had been on Oprah that year. This was in 1991, many years ago. 1991, I was a freshman. And so they looked at me, white men sitting at the table. I'm sitting behind the table in my interview. They told me that didn't happen. And their words to me was simply, there was no way a black woman could have been part of that. They knew it, but they wanted to discourage me. And may I add, it discouraged me. I walked from that room thinking I couldn't be an engineer. So I changed my major. After my freshman year, I transferred back and I went on to A&T, and I started out in the engineering department. But my love for it kind of died because they told me it never happened, and I believed it to a certain degree. I believed that a black woman couldn't do that. So I said, God, if they're not going to recognize her, then they're not going to recognize me. Then my gifts and talents in this field won't be recognized. My creativity will not be recognized. So I got in the Department of Engineering at A&T, loved it, loved my professors, loved my colleagues I was with, my students I was with. But I realized in doing that, as I got there, I realized something. And I had to apologize to myself. Not only was I talented and gifted enough to do it, I had the creativity to do it. And no white man could tell me that I couldn't. But I realized that when I got in that department, I began to draw. This was not where my heart was. Listen to me. My dad started out in engineering, so I followed in his footsteps. That's what I wanted to do. He started out in architecture engineering before he got drafted to the Vietnam War at Central. And so I decided to do it because I wanted to draw. I wanted to do what he wanted to do. So I started to do. So my heart for drawing has not gone away. I still continue to draw. But my motive and my mind shifted to political science. So I became a poli-sci major, which I graduated from, because I realized I wanted to make a difference. So political science was where I wanted to be, and I felt, and I flourished, and I loved it, and I grew, and I prospered, and it was something that I really loved. I love political science. I love politics. And so I realized in that was something I wanted to do. And so I let that moment discourage me, but I began to pick myself back up and redefine what it is that I wanted to do. And I had to redefine, God, is this the area, is architecture engineering something I wanted to do? Or are you leading me in a different direction? So I didn't give it up. At first, I gave it up, or I thought I left it because they told me I couldn't. But then I realized, God, is this what you really wanted? Or do I really want to follow in my dad's footsteps? And God began to deal with me on that. And he said, Eric, I need for you to shift your attention into this. So I moved to political science, and I found my niche in political science. I didn't stop drawing. I just moved in a different area. So I used those skills still in architecture. I know you're probably saying, but did you ever use them? I still use those skills today that I learned, because I learned something valuable in that 2 years that I was in the engineering department at A&T. You saying 2 years? Yeah, I spent 2 years. I did, I spent 2 years. I learned something valuable in that. And I asked God, I said, God, why did you let me go through 2 years of this for me to change my major? Because there was something in those 2 years I had to get. And you know what it was? It was discipline. And I needed those black men to affirm me. I needed those black professors to tell me, you can do it. You're good at this. But then I had a professor by the name of Dr. Whitaker that said to me, Erica, you're good and great. This is not where your heart is. He said, so tell me what you want to do. And I began to sit there and talk to Dr. Whitaker and told him, he said, go to political science. That's where you need to be. And it wasn't that he didn't want me in engineering. He saw my heart was not in it. So I'm saying to the black church, I need for us to put our heart back into it. It's a matter of the heart for many of you all that you're struggling to find your footing, to find your balance. Beyond the historical role, the church reflects culture in many ways. I mean, our music is phenomenal. The way that we are able to be creative in the arts, it's amazing. The way that we've been able to be innovative and creative beyond the pandemic with social media and this hybrid space of virtual worship has been simply amazing for the black church. But I want us to not forget our traditions, but I want us to understand that there's a future that's far greater for us in the black church space that I need for us to tap into and not lose the creativity and the ability to grow beyond the walls. I know some of you pastors are probably saying, how do I grow the culture of bringing people back into the church? Let me say something to you. This may be a hard truth. Some of the churches will never fill up again. And that's just simply the truth. You've got to learn how to work both spaces and be creative. Now, pastor, you might not be the one to do that. Hire you a pastor that knows how to work in that virtual space, and they can grow it just as much as you do. You're still a senior leader. It takes nothing from your leadership ability, but know your strengths and know your weaknesses, because everything is not for everybody. If you don't have the ability to do both, it's absolutely fine. Find somebody that can and grow your strengths and let somebody else grow the areas in your ministry. I need for us as a community, as a culture, as pastors and leaders, stop trying to do everything, because there's gifts in your congregation of people waiting, but God's waiting you simply to put the appeal out and to ask. So how is the black church evolving in our cultural landscape? Are we still leading in ways that we used to be or used to do? But I need for you to marinate that we got to shift gears from the culture of the church to shift gears to the economics of the church and the economics of our community. Because with the changes of this administration, and I've got to be honest, this is a hard truth, some of the economics in our church may change. If some changes take place in some places of workspaces, and they begin to make cuts and layoffs, and they begin to make changes, it will affect the economics of your business will affect the economics of your church, because you may lose some people that were used to giving regularly. They may not be able to give regularly because now they may be unemployed. They may have taken a pay cut. There's a lot of things we got to consider. So now I need for you to consider, what is the economics of our culture and what does that look like? Historically, we have faced barriers that have kept our wealth out of our hands. Redlining, wage gaps, and limited access to capital. It's a long list. I'm currently in a grant writing class that I started last June. And I've been working this class and this program since then, and it has been simply amazing. She's not just teaching us grant writing. She teaches us how to structure our business properly, how to restructure, how to gain access to capital, not just through grant funding, but simply how to gain access to capital through banks. She spent 15 years in the banking industry. And she simply saw people come in, African-American young ladies, simply brilliant. People would come in of color to get money and was denied. It wasn't because they didn't have the right things, because their business wasn't structured properly. Number two, they didn't know how to simply fill out a loan application. They didn't know what to put, how to structure it. So she has been taking us through this process and this journey. And I simply, when I got into it, I was wanting to do it real quick. I mean, I wanted to learn all at one time. And I realized it is so much information. I'm like, I can't do this. I got to take my time and work myself through this process. And I'm going to have her on this class. I mean, she lives in Memphis, but I'm going to fly her in because I need for her to be a part of Let's Think About It with Dr. E, because I need for you all to simply get access to her, because she has changed my life. We had a one-on-one back in December, and I said to her, the gift that you have needs to be global. It needs to be international. You need to be on Good Morning America. I told her you need to be on ESPN, CNN. Yeah, I said ESPN. She needs to be on all access. Grant needs to be granted to her because she is a brilliant mind that the world needs to know. So in this class, she teaches about how to gain access to capital and wealth, and through grant writing and through funding, through non-traditional and traditional. And I'm learning so much that I think I'm going to do a segment on that. I'm not sure when, but I believe that we really need to understand that economics plays a big part on how we're going to shift culture. The culture of how we do business, how we do church, how you run your life, when it all boils down to it, it's about the power of the almighty dollar. We need money to do what the things that God has called us to do. It's simply just, we need money. But I wanted to do something. I said something last year that I'm really going to get off this year, that I want to start something called Faith and Fortune. Faith and Fortune. And it's simply an incubator to really teach you how to really gravitate and to gain the access. But Black America, Black people, I need for us to come together. Stop being jealous and thinking everybody wants to steal your idea. Because I'm going to teach you how to protect yourself in that moment, how to do different things. But everything is not for everybody. But I have a heart to see us as a Black America. I want us to prosper. I want us to grow. I want us to help each other because we have so much knowledge. We have so much that we didn't learn from a university. We learn from each other. And I want us to grow in that. So I want to bring like-minded business people together in this year because I want to see us grow. I want to see us prosper. And I want to see us be the best that we can be in 2025. So let's talk about something called the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was a thriving economic hub until white supremacists destroyed it. They burned it completely down. But not even today, we're seeing a resurgence of Black entrepreneurship, from beauty brands to tech starts to Lady E-Specs with the eyewear, and reclaiming our space in the economy. But I need for us to understand that changing a generation is more than just looking at where we are now. I need for your children, your nieces and nephews to be better off in the future than we are today. It's incumbent for us to leave our generation off better. I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews. And it's my desire to set them up so that they can have something. So I have something set up for each one of them, that when I leave here, they all have a piece of something that they can have. I'm leaving them something. They're all on insurance policies. They're all in different parts, because I want to leave them something in the earth realm that I did, because I believe that I can't take it with me. I can't be buried now. Some people I've seen it foolishness. They want to bury money with people. I'm not going to do that. I want to leave my nieces and nephews with something. They can say, I left them something in the earth realm. But we got to reclaim the resurgence of Black entrepreneurship. I want us to build businesses. I want you to strengthen your current economic status, but we can do it together better as a community. So as we discuss collective economic, we need to practice saving. My staff said to me the other day, they came in and said, Miss Erica, I need for you to really help me with something. I said, what is it? I need to learn how to save money. I said, okay. How much money do you want to save? And they simply said to me, I want to save money. I want to save $20,000 this year. I said, okay. I said, well, how do you plan to do it? It's like, we don't know. But we know you know how to save money, so we need for you to help us. So I said to them, okay, so I'm going to teach you some simple, practical steps on saving money. But once we start saving that money, you can't touch it. Because you all done told me, you all want to save $20,000 a piece, and you want to reinvest it into something else. So the whole year we're going to save. I said, but there's some practical steps. I said, but the first thing I said, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to give them that one step. I said, I'm going to tell you one step. It's got to be in your mind. If it's not in your mind to save, it will not happen. It simply won't. If it's not in your ability to save it, and you see a pair of shoes you want, some new Jordans, you see some whatever, if it's not in your ability to do it, you won't do it. I've set a financial goal for myself this year that I want to save. I told them, I gave them a little secret. During the pandemic, over a 2-year span, I was able to save $100,000. I took that $100,000 and reinvested it into other opportunities. Their eyes got big and said, Miss, I said, yeah. I said, because it was in my mind. I was able to strategize on how I was going to do it, and then I reinvested it into other opportunities. But I realized I wasn't going to eat out every day. I wasn't going to eat out on the weekends. I put myself on a strict budget. I gave myself $200 a week. That included gas and any entertainment I wanted to do. So if I couldn't do it within that $200 a week, it wasn't going to be done. So I said, so you all going to have to stop eating out every day. I said, you going to stop. I said, y'all eat big. Y'all eat big food out every day. You have to pack your lunch. We got a full kitchen here in this building, this space we bought 3 years ago. You need to go in there and cook you something, bring you some sandwich meat, learn how to save your money. I said, but it's got to be in your mind. Economics is a shift of the mind. It's a change of mindset. But I want to challenge you. We can't just spend our way through equality. We need systemic changes. They took student loan forgiveness off the table. But I believe in God that even in this new administration, I know they're saying it ain't going to happen, but there's nothing too hard for the God that I serve. I'm believing that it's still going to happen. I'm still believing that what this administration is trying to dismantle, that God's people and those that know the God that I serve is going to prosper in this season. We also we've got to practice and we got to push for fair housing. We've got to push for access to capital. There's got to be fair across all spaces. It's got to be fair across all boards. It's got to be fair in all cultures and all dynamics. So let me ask you this question. How can you support Black economic growth in your daily life? Start saving. Put something back. Set a monthly goal. Set a weekly goal. However time you get paid, if you don't do nothing but set back aside $50 a week, $100 a month, do something. It's 12 months in this year. You should be able to save at least $1,200. At least for an emergency fund. At least $1,200. $100 a month. Put that somewhere where you can't get access to it. It's an emergency fund. So you saying to me, Dr. Erica, that I need to think about my economic status when in uncertain times and these yet to be United States of America? Absolutely. Because there's something that brings us all together, and it's money. We've got to build. We've got to build beyond where we are. So family, we've learned today that culture isn't just about songs we sing, the dances we do, the art we create. But you got to do something with all that we've been giving. You've got to put your feet to the fire and begin to change some things around you. So it's about how we live. It's how we organize. It's how we survive. It's how we thrive. It's in our communities. It's in our churches. It's in the economic system as we all come together to build something. I need for us to build an infrastructure in 2025 that will outlast us. Yes, we can build even in uncertain times. Yes, you can build even when it doesn't look like you're on shaky foundation. You can still build. But here's the thing. Culture isn't static. It evolves. And it's up to us to shape the intentionality of a culture. We can build communities that reflect our highest values and ensure our churches stay relevant and create economic systems that work for us and not against us. But you've got to be willing to evolve and change with the times. Culturally, the world changes every 4 years. But the black church, we only change every 20 years. So if we look at that in numbers, we're always trailing behind 15 years. We've got to change that in 25. Every year we elect a new president. So the world changes. The cabinet, the government system changes every 4 years. The Senate, governors every 2 years. Governors every 3 years, I'm sorry. The Senate, they change every 2 years. So if we're going to change something, we've got to start with where you are. What is it that you want to change? And where do you want to change? Write those things down. So I want to challenge you, write down 10 things you want to do. Write down 10 things you want to change. And then I want you to begin to take one of those things a month and focus on that one thing. My one thing that I want to focus on this year, I want to be better organized. I need for organization to drive what I do. Because I know for me, when I'm organized, things flow better. When things are not organized, I have a very unstable, static life. It's up and down. I need consistency. So I'm challenging myself in all areas of my life, business, spiritually, emotionally, physically, that I'm organized. Because organization is God's plan for my life and His plans for your life. You cannot change and grow when things are in chaos. It simply means if you take your coat off the hanger, put it back where you got it from. Instead of just throwing it on the chair. I'm bad for that, y'all. I'm bad for just coming in and throwing it over the chair and say, because I know tomorrow I might wear that same coat tomorrow, so I'm going to leave it laying there. No, I got to put it back where I got it. It's the small things that matter. As we go about our week, consider how you're going to contribute to the culture. What are you going to do? And what's your role in shaping the future? Share your thoughts with those around you that have the same like-mindedness around you. Keep the conversation going. Meet with friends once a month or once a quarter and just ask them, hey man, let's get together, sis, let's get together, bro. Let's talk about how things are going, how things are changing. What can we do to help each other? What can we do to help each other become accountable in where they are? I need for us to stay grounded. I don't need for you to change because out of fear. I need for you to change because you see yourself going in a new direction. One of the things that I often challenge myself with is I used to do this more frequently. I used to read 2 books a month. I want you to get a book a month that focuses on that list that you wrote. So if you need to build your faith, find your book on faith. You want to grow your money, find your book on how to grow your finances. If you want to grow your church, find a book on church growth. If you want to change the culture, find your book on culture. If you want to focus on how to grow and upscale your business, find you a book on that. Find you a podcast. Find you something on YouTube University that's going to help grow that in the area. But I want you to need for you to get you some reading materials this year. So I'm going to challenge you to grow in reading books that's going to grow you. Make this the year of focus for your life. Make this the year of self-discovery. Make this a year that you grow beyond your own comprehension and understand. Challenge yourself to get outside of your comfort zone. You see, people grow when they are challenged. You may not believe it, but when you are challenged, you grow. Whenever you're pushed up against a wall, you grow. Whenever you feel like you've been locked in and blocked in, you grow because you're going to find a way to get yourself out of that. This year, let this be the year of focus. Let this be the year of you. Let this be the year that you understand that I am my greatest asset. Without you, you cannot grow. So I need for you to be mentally strong. I need for you to stay physically strong. I need for you to stay emotionally strong. So that means you got to surround yourself with people who can keep you in those areas. It's 4 of us, it's 4 friends of us that we keep each other accountable. We keep each other rooted and grounded. We feel like one is getting too far to the left. Hey, come on in, sis. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Like, what are you doing? Like, what you saying? That ain't make sense. Come on, girl, that ain't make sense. We ain't doing that this year. We're going to do something different. And so we're holding each other accountable this year. Accountability is a word for you this year. It's a year of alignment. But I want this to be the year of focus. I want this to be the year of accountability. And I want you to focus on you. Because if you don't focus on you, when you begin to diminish in other areas, I need for you to start the year off strong. Because if you have a strong start, you're going to end the year strong. It's all about having a greater presence where you are. I need you to stay grounded. I need for you to stay inspired. And I need for you to know that you matter in this season. The culture is changing. The climate is going to change around you. But don't you change and drop off of what God said for you in this season. You're much greater than where you are now. I need for you to understand there's a promise over your head. And God has told you what that is. Hold fast to it. And don't you move because of fear. Let fear be your opportunity to grow. Because you can grow from fear. Fear can push you to a place of uncertainty. But grow from it. Learn from it. And remember, you matter in this season. Until next time, stay encouraged, stay grounded. And remember, Let's Think About It is here to help you through this journey. Until next time, stay in your place, but let God shift your mindset to your next move. Until next time, think about it.